Hey everybody, and welcome to the Katalog, a show where we explore what digital products can be. My name is Justin Wood, and I'm here with Matt Schweitz and Dylan Trotter of BitComplete. And yeah, we're here to talk about digital products. We're on episode 1 today, season 1, episode 1. And I'm so happy to have you guys here because I honestly think you guys inspired me to do this.
Really?
100%.
We're very happy to be here.
Yeah. And I think this really came out of us sitting in breweries and pubs over the past few years.
Scheming,
talking about nerdy stuff. And I think last time we were at, Blood Brothers Brewery in one of these like tight little compact bar areas in the hot, sweaty summer. And I think that's where we really bonded. So I feel like that's where the chemistry started, and it's great to have you guys
Sweat
here.
is often, a catalyst for bonding.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
sweating together.
Yeah, sharing fluids, right? So yeah, you guys run a development shop called BitComplete. Why don't you tell us a little bit about BitComplete? One note I have here is that you guys describe yourself as an agile-ish development company. What does that mean?
Sure. So BitComplete is a small software firm. We do development for all kinds of companies, mostly startups, and help them build their V0s or their V1s and iterate on those products. The reason we call ourselves agile-ish is because we really subscribe to this iterative aspect of development, but we don't love all the baggage that often comes with like agile methodology. So we try to take what we think are like the good parts of doing agile development and jettison the stuff that kind of feels heavyweight or overbearing. You know, when you have a company that is 5 people, right? Or you have a few people doing development, you don't always need really heavy process. And so trying to keep process as light as possible, but also have some aspect of predictability, of planning, of like, what are we doing next? And then, the most important thing for us is really like iterating. And so building in chunks, like cycles, whatever you want to call them, sprints, of 1 to 2 weeks, and then learning from what you produce from those sprints, and then taking those lessons and applying them to the next sprint. That's like the main thing we take from the agile process, and so that's what we focus on.
Cool. And you guys met, where did you guys meet? What's your story? How did you guys meet?
We met at YouTube, where we both worked for quite a number of years. And
so you're Googlers.
We are Googlers.
Zooglers.
I guess we're technically
Zooglers.
Yeah. But we still cling to the, moniker. And Matt is more focused on front end there, did a lot of front end infrastructure and building products. And then my focus was product for a while, and then more back end infrastructure. So
does it feel kind of surreal working on YouTube and now you are going to be on the YouTube? Is that like,
is that where this is going?
I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Yeah.
It just hit you just now. It's good. This will be on YouTube. And I think that's how we met too. So I think it was our agency was put on a random spreadsheet. You guys were in Vietnam. You called us up and you said, "Hey, it was like we found you guys on this spreadsheet," and we started talking and went from there. But going back to what you guys were saying about that like agile-ish methodology, we've done some work with people that have worked at Google, and I just find it so easy to work in that environment. I feel like when it comes to product development, you have some people who really, really struggle with that idea of iterating stuff and getting things out there, but also planning out anything beyond 6 months. So what is it about that culture that you guys learned there that, it seems to be consistent with lots of people that I talk to from that organization?
Yeah, I think, at Google, we took certain things from the Google process. I think writing things down, involving as many people as is required in, the conversations, figuring out what the product direction and things are that way. Particularly engineering, bringing engineering into those conversations, we think is crucial. That's something that Google has always done
Into
really well.
designing and
Into the product design conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, design, but particularly product direction and product specification, like that becomes important, when you need to build something. And, sometimes we have worked on some projects that have been very, designed, all up front, and then the engineers brought in at the tail end. And what inevitably happens is you get some feature that is seems super important to the product owner, and you have to tell them, well, this is going to blow the budget right here. So you have to find ways to simplify and to reduce scope and to adapt in those situations. And it's a lot easier if you front load those conversations, and so that you're not having them, when you're trying to launch something. So
Yeah. I think just like taking account of complexity and how long something is going to take to build, how hard it is earlier. And then is it actually important is the other thing. Like from a product and design perspective, if you're trying to define all this stuff up front, you build it and then you realize actually no one's using it in this way that we thought they would. You've just wasted all this time.
So yeah, honestly, like I think that's really great. And with your agency, what you guys have been doing, you've been working with a lot of bigger companies, but also smaller startups, like getting them to that MVP, but also getting it to an MVP that can scale up as well. That's what that does, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So it's the new year. It's kind of getting in that spot where can we still keep calling it the new year? Yeah, I think so. It's like
Few more days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I wanted to take some time to talk about is obviously 2023 was a very rapid change in many ways, especially in the tech sector. You guys have had, holiday season to sit down, have a few glasses of wine, look forward towards the next year. What things as far as building digital products are you guys excited to build in 2024?
Good question. I think, we have some really interesting projects going on. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the AI space, a lot of great ideas coming from those sort of technological breakthroughs. So that's sort of a broad category of really interesting projects that we're excited about. I think in particular, like companies that are finding that they suddenly have treasure troves of information and data that they can leverage in a totally different way is really interesting. There's a way of leveraging unstructured data now in the form of like text, English language comments in forums or in in internal documents and things like that suddenly are much more useful, and finding ways to leverage that information is pretty cool.
Yeah. The other thing I'm excited about with regard to generative AI is like the UX side of things. I think we're going to see some interesting evolution of like how do you design products around AI that go beyond, a ChatGPT style, like, you have a chat window and you're like chatting with the AI. And so how do you make this more interesting for users? How do you make it more predictable? Like, how do you get to a point where you can like have a better idea of quality? Like, that's the whole other side of this AI revolution is it's harder to know what's good, like from a programmatic or just like measurement standpoint, like how it's a black box, so how do you tease out, is this good or not? Like, am I making my product better by incorporating AI, or is it just like spitting out nonsense or hallucinating?
Yes, exactly. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. It's like, okay, we have all this data, and I think the past few months you have all these people on YouTube, on whatever, saying, here's the best way to prompt it. Here's the best way to prompt it. Here's the best way to prompt it. And they're starting to create like Microsoft Word documents of all these different prompts to have. So and I kind of started thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, are we going backwards in interface where, DOS was you're sending prompts, right? So are we going into a way where we have to learn all the prompts like we used to in DOS? I don't know. I'm interested to see your guys' thoughts on that. Has that crossed your mind?
I don't know about backwards in that sense. I do think we're at a weird moment where their LLMs are maybe not sophisticated enough, or don't have enough context, or they're not like connected to us to have sufficient context to be able to really understand what you need without like a really careful prompting. But I do also think that there's a certain amount of like magic about it, which is kind of fascinating to watch. Like these, like Matt said, they're black boxes, right? And so what do humans do when they have black boxes? They like form superstitions and like create rituals around like how they interact. And I think a lot of that stuff around like the right way to prompt and stuff is probably nonsense. I think it works for certain situations and not in others. But again, as Matt said, like it's really hard to gauge quality because it's such these responses that you get are so open-ended and so really how do you weigh it against any other possible responses? It's the space is too big. So it's pretty interesting to see it all shake out.
But there's more typing for sure, right? There's just like more words that you are putting in as a user to interact with these systems now. So I think there's going to be a bigger shift toward voice, and then the question I have is like, well, how do you take all the UX affordances that we've kind of lived with for the past decade or two, drop downs and inputs and forms and all this stuff, and how do you adapt those to this LLM world and make it easier for the users so they're not just like having to like explain things and take a long time to explain them either in speech or in typing. How do you make that easier? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the good, or one of the things that I'm excited for is like, how do we design interfaces around accessing that data, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, okay, you have one trend I see is let's go back to the wizard mode. So standard computer wizard is, hey, here's some input boxes. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You put them into the input boxes and I'm going to spit out a result for you, right? So I think input box or like wizards are going to have a big year maybe.
Yeah, it's 2024.
2024, you get your staff and your pointy hat because the year of the wizard is upon us.
Well, it unlocks a whole new kind of wizard, right? That is more dynamic because you can much more easily go down all these different branches and pathways with LLMs than you could if you were hard coding. Like, here's your predefined branching strategy.
The wizard can talk back to you.
Exactly.
It's a organic.
Yeah.
So this kind of brings me back to, I put this in my notes, but Microsoft Clippy, like were we onto something with Clippy?
Just ahead of its time.
Like, is every digital product, if I go to a travel website, am I going to have a little Clippy that I can interact with? And should people be building that into their websites and their digital products? What do you guys think?
I think it depends. I don't think our existing UIs are going to disappear anytime soon. I think that there's a new tool in the toolbox for interfacing with computers, and I think that the existing ways are good for some things, and the natural language is a new mode that is good for other things. I mean, it's sort of like when we went from command line to Windows 3.1 or whatever, when you still needed to drop to the command line to do some things or do certain things more efficiently, but like the point and click UI is just better for a lot of other things. So it's just a new mode, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean the thing is, we shit on Clippy, but if it's good, like if Clippy is actually helpful,
if now is the time for Clippy,
like it doesn't matter if it has those goofy eyes or whatever. If it's actually helping you, like, okay, that's great. The thing about Clippy was it was not actually particularly helpful, right? It was just like stock tips that would appear and distract you. Mm-hmm. But if it's actually taking in context from what you're doing on the page, if it's responding to your commands or your questions and like giving you helpful information or doing stuff for you, that would be great. Yeah,
and honestly, like you see it already starting to build, like it's built in and shipped on Windows right now, right? Copilot is in the start menu now, right? I think in every digital product you see it, like in LinkedIn when you write a post, help me write this post with AI, right? So yeah, I think I think Clippy, like that idea of a Clippy or a assistant inside of all of these products, and it's something to get excited about, right? Because lots of times building these products, people are struggling putting knobs and dials on them to get to what lots of companies have a lot of good data, right? So so it's just seeing how that goes as well. But it's interesting too, because you do see new interfaces with knobs and dials, and that's essentially what all these AI tools were around before. They just had to be queried, right, with code.
It was harder to build, harder to use them.
And you can see some of the more advanced AI tools. I'm starting to see like the advanced 3D rendering tools and stuff like that. They have those knobs and dials, right? So I guess my question is like, is Clippy for the everyday user, and will we start seeing more knobs and dials for like power users and more data, stuff like that?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix. And, for certain, static kinds of interactions, existing UIs for, digging into data and things are going to be just fine. But as a, context aware sort of assist, I think AI will definitely continue to integrate into, our existing products.
Yeah, I mean, GitHub Copilot is my Clippy these days, right? It's just like, and to some extent, ChatGPT, like I was struggling yesterday with a SQL query that is way beyond my SQL skill set. And all I did was drop it into ChatGPT and say, help me write this query. And I got it. I had to iterate on it like 5 times because it didn't work, the first 4 times, but it got there. Mm-hmm. When I pasted, okay, here's the error I get now. Here's the error I get now. And it got me there. And like, that's a great Clippy interaction that would have taken me hours, that was reduced to a couple minutes.
And that's actually gets into another really interesting pattern, which is like you can, sometimes these LLMs produce responses that are they're not right, or they hallucinate a little bit. But when you then give them more information, like an error message, they can fix themselves. And so like you see this almost like self-fixing approach, which is, like way beyond anything that we've.
It's like a self-healing Clippy.
Yeah.
Some Mutant Clippy.
Mutant Clippy.
Yeah.
Clippy has evolved. He's like the T-1000 now. Like a bullet goes through him and it just
Exactly.
cannot destroy me. Yeah, but I mean, there's, as far as this year goes, we're gonna have the marketplace for, I guess it's OpenAI, right? Do you guys think that we're gonna have another app boom where, you know, everybody is going to be creating their own service agents and stuff like that?
I think there will be a big push in that direction. I don't know if it will turn into quite as like revolutionary or all consuming as the mobile, you know, app store paradigm shift that happened. But I do think it's a whole new vector of information, of tools that will be exposed to both developers and to end users.
Do you think the one thing that I was kind of excited about was, okay, from a marketing perspective, you might have, you know, some lead gen, digital products, stuff like that. But I think lots of startups break is when, okay, you have a product or a SaaS product and it's actually doing good. Now you have a lot of leads or you have a back office that becomes an operational cost for these startups. And that's what breaks them, right? They said, I have too many mortgage leads I don't know how to deal with. I wish I had
handling demand is like a bottleneck.
Exactly, right? And you know, I have to hire a call center now. Do you think that having interfaces that consumers can directly interface with on like a dashboard or something like that, do you think that the black box will be able to trust it enough as consumers that we can say, you know what, I don't need to talk to a human to book my trip to Bali in exactly the same way. I'm going to talk to this agent and I'm going to get everything. It's going to do all those things for me. Do you think we're going to see that this year?
I think for certain things. I think, again, it sort of all depends on context, but I think it can do really well for certain types of questions or customer support or sales support or whatever kind of support you have. The question is, how do you escalate, right? How do you detect when it's failing? And then you're not going to eliminate the need for humans to get involved, but you're going to need fewer of them and need them less often because it will handle like the top of the funnel, say, more easily. And then the other thing is I think it will make building and adapting your back office tools easier. So it will take less time for you to spin up some admin, interface or software that will help you deal with demand because, hey, you have all these tools. Your developers have all these new tools that help them go faster.
Yeah, and I think in general, just like even ChatGPT sort of creates, makes people more efficient in operational terms. Like they are able to, if they have to answer, hundreds of customer emails each day, there are ways to use ChatGPT now that sort of make that more efficient. And I think that's just going to continue as well. These general purpose tools are going to continue to like make operations for companies more efficient.
Yeah. So, I mean, like let's put a scenario in place where it's, I'm a CSR at a travel agent. Can I now handle 100 clients a day other than 10? Is that the use case that we're going to see more as these like back office AI tools roll out? Is that?
Yeah, or you're going to be able to handle like the customers that need the most support more deeply, and all the shallow customers that don't need all your attention will be handled by the system.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing because, I mean, we kind of did the whole, call centers used to be able to call a call center and it's great, and now it's just like, it wasn't great, but you could get somebody.
Yeah, you could talk to somebody.
There was a person now, and then you have that linear version of like, you've called a call center, this, enter one to this, and then we went to just straight up. I think we're in a space now where it's just like, don't even call us.
They hope you drop off.
Like,
absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
Do not. We will hide everything that shows where you can call us. So yeah, I think that, that could be, if I had a dashboard where I could log in, get 99% of, hey, give me how long is it going to take my mortgage payment if I add this, and this. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and you can just use use English, right? Just talk to it, as opposed to I have to navigate this whole set of forms or like go dig for data to actually get useful answers. You can just do it by talking to it. Like, that's great.
So yeah, so I guess my question is are we going to see a productization of the service industry?
Continued productization, yeah, I think so. Continuation of the SaaS trends that we've seen for a while. Absolutely.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it could, like, that middle of the road where people are having difficulty with scale. I think there could be like a pretty big boom in that side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So quick lightning round to wrap things up. Just going to ask you guys 3 questions, and I just want your honest opinion on them. They're around digital products and stuff like that. So number 1 is, if you could resurrect any digital product from the past, what would it be? Start with you, Dylan.
Google Reader jumps to mind, but it seems a bit obvious.
Was that an RSS feed?
Yeah,
thing?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that there's that many RSS feeds.
Was it
around?
Like Feedly? Feedly was one as well. Yeah, I used to really like Feedly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Feedly still around?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think it had a little resurgence, and you can still use it in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
But it's no Reader.
No Reader. No.
You missed your RSS.
Reader
feeds,
was ahead of
don't
its
you?
time.
Yeah.
So that was basically, you plopped in your RSS feeds and it just created a feed for you, right? Like a blog feed, right?
Yeah, you just subscribe to RSS feeds, and it's going to give you, the newest stuff, newest content.
Why do you think it died? Like,
Google.
Politics.
There's a whole cult of Google Reader.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's a lot of grumpy ex-Googlers.
is there like people who have installed local versions of Reader and like upload their data to
I think
it?
there's definitely people who have tried to like rebuild it in various ways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. And yours? What would you say yours?
I would like to resurrect Twitter. Yeah,
Ooh,
that's my
interesting. So
I want my Twitter back from
What's
2 years ago.
Well, I don't think that's, I don't know. You're gonna have to talk to Elon for that one.
Yeah.
But what have you been using as an alternative?
I mean, I've been on, like, I've been kind of jumping around. I still use X a bit. I use Threads a bit.
He mostly watches TikTok.
Yeah, I watch TikTok. Artifact I've been using a bit, which is like kind of like a AI powered Google Reader, I guess, or is what is aspiring to be. But none of them have the
any like Mastodon, Fediverse type stuff.
I played with Mastodon, and I haven't like found the right like set of things to follow to like make it sticky.
Just ain't the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Just ain't the same. Well,
I lost my my addiction to my screen when Twitter like kind of.
is that a bad thing or?
Not according to my family, but yeah. For my dopamine hit, yeah.
Yeah, that dopamine is just depleted right now. Okay, second question. If you guys could build one digital if you had like unlimited budget, is there an idea that you've had in the back of your head that you've always wanted to do? Dylan.
We built a product last year or 2 years ago that was a code review tool, pretty niche in software development. But I think building a code review tool nowadays is a rocky endeavor. But
is this because AI does it now, or what? Like what?
No, but that's the interesting part now. Is like, how do you make code reviews, a million times better with AI? I think, and I mean, even is code review even a thing anymore? If AI is writing, chunks of code, I don't know.
It's fraught.
We're not there yet.
It's a fraught area.
But
It's a fraught topic.
code quality has always been something I cared about professionally, and we've tried to build products that help that along, but it's tough. It's
You're
a
just
tough
trying to
market.
make a robot version of yourself going
Yeah,
over.
That's right.
And wagging the finger at everybody.
Yes, exactly. Maybe that's just all I need.
I think we just need a Clippy version
Yeah,
of you.
yeah.
Like Clippy Dylan.
Yeah,
That might
the wagging finger. I like it.
Matt, what about you?
I have wanted to build or see built like something to replace Google Maps, like My Maps. I'm like a compulsive Google Map kind of tagger to like figure out, okay, if I'm in a place, like what are the places to eat or drink. And so Google Maps hasn't changed in decades. And a way to organize and share your like pins.
Like a route or something like that? Or,
Yeah, there's an app called Corner that's trying to do it. There's a bunch of different apps that are trying to do it. So that's one thing I would love to either build or see being built. And then the other one is a mini crossword league app. So you can compete on the New York Times mini crossword on time.
I thought that software already exists.
It exists in a in a manner of speaking.
In a spreadsheet.
Yeah, in a spreadsheet.
Oh, so right now it's a spreadsheet and people like...
Yeah,
their
I have a
times
group
or
of friends that we compete on the mini crossword, and I would like to see a real product come to market that would support our use case.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try to keep them secret if you guys really want to like patent any of these, but those are great. Last question. There's people out there that are envisioning building their own digital products. What advice would you guys give to someone who is starting their own journey in building a digital product?
Get it in front of users as early as possible. Real users, not people who
Your
are
mom.
going to. Yes, exactly. Not your mom.
I love it, honey. It looks great. You keep believing in your dreams.
Yeah, people who will give you the harsh light of truth of like what works and what doesn't in your app, and just like get that, like take that pain as early as you can, and just like try not to avoid it, because it's very easy to avoid and push out and be like, I want to get it.
We just need this one feature,
and then it'll be great. Just like boil it down to the most simple, lovable thing, right? This like concept of minimum lovable product that you can launch, get it in front of users, and listen to what they have to say.
See if anyone gives a...
And if they don't like it, then
adjust,
move on.
Yeah.
Move on, or like, so what's the difference between moving on and adjusting? When do you know it's like, this is just not...
Well, I think if you get feedback, that's like, if only, it had this and you get that consistently, then you're onto something. If it's like, I don't know, or if you send it out to some people and then they're like, oh, totally try it. And then you don't hear from them. And then you send them an email and they asking them how it's going, and they don't reply.
You can tell like,
Yeah.
like someone who is avoiding engagement because it's just like not working for them, or someone who's actually like trying to engage and like, oh, there should be
something
like
there,
a kernel. Yeah.
Like, oh, I like this, but anyways, that's all the time we got. Thanks again for making this an episode 1. We got out of the pub into
Appreciate
something
it.
professional, and we'll see you guys next time.